Well, you're looking at a picture of storm damage near Sealy Lake. The severe weather alert team's tracking more weather impacts on the way through the weekend. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I'm Montana McLaughlin. Well, meteorologist Matt Gray is tracking more stormy weather on the way. Matt, what's the latest?
The latest right now is that we are kind of seeing the last gasp of those storms that produced all the wind gusts and the storm damage around here in northwest Montana. Let's zoom in to basically what is the last round of this right now. We have seen 35 mile an hour wind gusts with this kind of large area of rain, and some areas that have kind of developed a little bit more than that with some heavier rain, and that's where you're going to see some of those winds as they continue to jet across the region tonight. So Sealy Lake seeing rain like now along Highway 200 as well, and towards Lincoln later on tonight we'll start to see more of those rain showers. That's just part of many storm reports that we saw, even some shed damage in Evero along with tree damage also up in Swan Lake and out by 9 miles of hail near the Idaho border. But that was then, this is now, which means less of a wind issue and more of an issue with snow. So we're going to be talking about snow Saturday night and into Sunday and impacts out there in the backcountry and out on the roads. We'll have more coming up.
Thanks, Matt. Well, we checked with the National Weather Service where you can find the windiest places in Montana. Deep Creek is 11 miles southeast of Glacier. Its average daily wind speed, nearly 18 miles an hour. The peak daily wind gust in Livingston's at least 30 miles an hour, 67% of the time. Harlowton in south central Montana comes in second and Cut Bank in third. Well, we're learning more tonight about just how effective those U.S. missile strikes were in Syria. The Trump administration says they haven't ruled out further military action either, and they say that new sanctions are on their way. They're vowing to keep the pressure on despite tensions with Russia. The Pentagon's trying to find out whether Russia itself was involved in the chemical weapons assault. Jay Gray is traveling with the president, and he has the latest from Palm Beach, Florida.
24 hours after the U.S. missile strike, new images of the damage at Sharat Air Base. Officials saying 60 Tomahawk missiles were launched, one misfiring into the Mediterranean, the rest direct hits, damaging 20 Syrian aircraft as well as hangars, fuel and weapons depots.
The signal is as important as the actual damage that was done.
That signal from the administration marking a shift in strategy, now not only questioning but directly challenging Syrian President Bashar al-Assad.
The moral stain of the Assad regime could no longer go unanswered.
While Secretary of State Rex Tillerson has called Russia complicit or simply incompetent after the chemical attacks. Russia's UN ambassador firing back during today's Security Council meeting, calling the U.S. military action illegal and ineffective.
The consequences of this for regional and international stability could be extremely serious.
Syrian President Assad has labeled the strikes, quote, reckless and irresponsible, while American allies across the globe are applauding the response. With UN Ambassador Nikki Haley warning, President Trump has not ruled out further military action.
We are prepared to do more, but we hope that will not be necessary.
As President Trump remains inside his Mar-a-Lago resort tonight, said to be in close communication with both his military and national security teams. Jay Gray, NBC News, Palm Beach, Florida.
The president's scheduled to stay in Florida through the weekend. Now, among U.S. allies in the region, there's been positive reaction to the U.S. missile strikes. So far, the only major state in opposition is Syria themselves, who just experienced those attacks not only from the U.S., but also Russia and Iran. Here's how Montana U.S. senators, though, are weighing into this whole situation. Steve Daines called the strikes an appropriate strategic strike, but he says he remains concerned about the long-term strategy. John Tester says there needs to be a clear plan and an endgame that includes congressional approval and oversight. Well, new reaction tonight after we told you Governor Bullock used his veto pen to keep an all mail-in ballot a possibility for the May election. He used what's called an amendatory veto. That means he changed the bill to allow counties to run the election by mail. We were there last week when House Republicans kept the measure from going to a floor debate. Montana has to decide who will replace former U.S. Representative Ryan Zinke, who's now the Secretary of Interior. Montana's elections administrators have favored the all mail-in ballot. They estimate it would save the state as much as $750,000. But the president of the Montana Clerk and Recorders Association says with just 48 days before the election, counties have to stay focused.
Right now, it's that the election is being run at the polls. So that's what we're focusing on. We're making sure our polling places are secured. We're rounding up election judges. We're, planning on mailing out absentee ballots.
So what's next? Both the House and Senate need to schedule to hear the mail-in bill again. The bill then needs a majority vote in both House and Senate to pass. The governor's office says it cannot be tabled again, but the vote can be delayed. We'll keep following it and let you know what happens. Well, tonight, the Lake County Sheriff's Office is asking for your help to find an unregistered sex offender. Philip Pierre was recently released from prison and has an outstanding $23,000 warrant for a probation violation. If you have any information on his location, please contact the Lake County Sheriff's Office at 406-883-7301, or you can call 911. Well, we're following up after we told you yesterday how prosecutors charged 2 MSU football players with distributing prescription drugs. These are the players we're talking about: junior Nigel Hale and senior redshirt Darren Gardenhire, both transferred to MSU from the University of Washington. Well, we found out today that the day before these students were arrested, MSU adopted a prescription drug policy in their student code of conduct. In it, the university outlined rules against the sale, manufacture, and distribution of narcotics or dangerous drugs, including prescription drugs. But here's the catch. The new policy does not apply to these 2 football players arrested this week. And here's why.
This policy won't be fully implemented until the start of the next academic year. However, these 2 students have been accused of illegal conduct. That currently is in our code of conduct, and they will be held to that standard under the current code.
We wondered about the timing of this new policy because it was adopted just 24 hours before these arrests were made. The Dean of Students tells us they've been working on revising drug policies for a year, and the timing is just a coincidence. Well, President Trump's proposed budget includes cuts to the Empire Builder, a rail line that goes right through Montana, connecting Seattle through Chicago. According to Amtrak, ending the services of the Empire would cost 43 jobs in Montana, worth about $4 million a year. It would hit hard for places like Whitefish, one of the train's major stops. Whitefish officials say around 10,000 people visit the resort each year by train.
Whitefish, Montana is the busiest stop between Seattle and Minneapolis. So obviously there's a lot of people. Now that's a year-round statistic. It's not just winter, but certainly when we have about 12%, and that's just our research is kind of a guess, 12% of our business arrives by train. It's a number.
Now, according to GreaterAmericanStations.com, 20% of Montanans would not travel without the Amtrak. That calculates to a loss of approximately $1.4 million. Well, we got our first look today at plowing in Glacier National Park. Check out these photos from park officials. Plows are moving their way up, going to the Sun Road. The focus right now is on that 22-mile stretch from the west entrance to Packers Roost. Still ahead, though, more jobs added to the economy, but experts are a little concerned. We'll tell you why. Plus, a live view over Missoula tonight, the severe weather alert change tracking wet weather, and more in store for the weekend. Matt Gray has the alerts you need to hear coming up.
Tonight from NBC's Shades of Blue, Jennifer Lopez is on The Tonight Show. Yes! That's what you want, right? With an epic dance battle. Plus Trump on Trump.
There's that story, me.
And Depeche Mode, Fallon tonight.
At Spectrum, we deliver the best in TV, internet, and voice. But don't take my word for it. Take Joe's.
Contracts? Satellite service as unpredictable as the weather? No, thank you. I switched to Spectrum, and now I get free HD and thousands of titles free on demand. Boom!
Get Spectrum TV for just $29.99 a month. Call 844-321-2999 and switch today, like Ann.
After we switched, 60 megabits per second gave us more than enough speed for all our devices all the time.
Get Spectrum Internet for $29.99 a month with no data caps and a free modem.
I switched to Spectrum Voice, and now I get unlimited nationwide calling, plus unlimited calling to Canada, Mexico, and more, with no added taxes or fees. Oh, hey.
Call 844-321-2999 and get Spectrum TV, Internet, and Voice for just $29.99 a month each, with no contracts and a 30-day money-back guarantee. Call 844-321-2999.
I was wondering if an electric toothbrush really cleans better than a manual, and my hygienist says it does, but they're not all the same. Turns out they're really different. Who knew? I had no idea. So she said look for one that's shaped like a dental tool with a round brush head.
Go pro with Oral-B. Oral-B's rounded brush head surrounds each tooth to gently remove more plaque. And Oral-B cross-action is clinically proven to remove more plaque than Sonicare Diamond Clean.
My mouth feels so clean. I'll only use an Oral-B.
The #1 brand used by dentists worldwide. Oral-B. Brush like a pro.
Vin Diesel and Morris Chestnut.
Sit between Vin and Morris? Yes, please.
Next live.
Weekdays at 10 a.m. on NBC Montana. Get your forecast from the Severe Weather Alert team on NBC Montana.
Welcome back. Well, one of the major issues on the world stage right now is the growing nuclear threat from North Korea. And now the U.S. is looking at other courses of action should diplomacy fail. NBC News learned that President Trump's National Security Council presented him with some controversial courses of action. The first would place U.S. nuclear weapons in South Korea as an aggressive show of force. The second option is to target and kill North Korea's leader, Kim Jong-un, and other senior leaders. And the third option would be to infiltrate the U.S. and South Korean special forces into North Korea to sabotage or take out any key infrastructure. Well, there's trouble in store for a big part of the American economy. While the new jobs report we showed you earlier showed some promising signs to drop unemployment, employers added only 98,000 new jobs last month, and that's half of what economists expected. But perhaps the biggest trouble right now is in retail. NBC's Tom Costello reports.
In Virginia, the faces of disappearing retail jobs up close and very personal. As Eric Stern is forced to close his family's outdoor rec store after 61 years.
You cry a little, you laugh a little, you hug it out a little bit.
The end of an era coming in large part because of online competition. Today, news that in February alone, retailers cut 30,000 jobs. Some of the biggest names in America are slashing jobs and closing stores. Payless Shoes, JCPenney, Walmart, Sears, Macy's, even Polo. Now, with so many big-name anchor stores cutting back or shutting down, another American institution, shopping malls, are being torn down, with 30% at risk nationwide.
I don't think the retail jobs are coming back. I think we're going to move into a hybrid of some retail, some warehousing, some trucking.
The National Retail Federation says 1 in 4 jobs is connected to the retail industry. And while President Trump has talked about reviving the coal industry, which employs 76,000 people, retailer JCPenney, on the verge of bankruptcy, employs 114,000 alone.
Have a good one.
Back in Virginia, the Stern family is hoping to reinvent the family business.
This is 43 years of my livelihood.
But how and where isn't clear. Tom Costello, NBC News, North Bethesda, Maryland.
Well, Google is starting to crack down on fake news. Shortly after Facebook launched a similar tool today, Google announced they're rolling out their own fact-checking feature. The search giant will use other websites such as PolitiFact or Snopes to verify information. For example, when something is searched, the result will list the claim, the source, and whether it is true or not. Other big news today, though, out of California, the drought there is officially over. That's according to Governor Jerry Brown, who made the announcement today, calling this winter one of the wettest in years. Brown says reservoirs are finally returning to normal levels after the Sierra Nevadas experienced record snowpack this year. That's the key water source for the state. But here's what it used to look like earlier. The drought lasted about 4 years, leading to California's driest conditions on record. Just a few minutes ago, we told you about those strong winds that slammed into Oregon and Washington. Now we're learning the storm caused dozens of trees to take out power lines. It also shut down I-5, the main interstate through the area. Same story for the light rail service. More than 200,000 customers are without power there. And Matt, I was just outside earlier. The rain now was coming down in Missoula pretty hard a little bit ago.
Yeah, we had a nice little shower move over, and that is beginning to kind of push its way out of the area. I say nice shower because not really that much with the wind, no lightning, not anything like we saw earlier this afternoon that was pushing things, kind of knocking down trees across many parts of our area, as we showed you there earlier out of Seeley Lake, for example. And right now, most of what is actually falling there is snow as it works up into the Bob Marshall country, that large area of showers. Can't rule out more showers as we head through the rest of the evening. And as we get cooler and cooler tonight, we may end up with a few snowflakes in some of our higher elevation areas. But for most of the area, most of the valley areas, still rain at this hour as we've been hanging on in the 40s for a while. It's all part of this big system that's moving into the northwest. And the threat is over as well around Seattle and Portland as the center of that storm moves on shore. But all this moisture, that's tracking towards us. And here's what's going to happen as we head into tomorrow. Colder air and a large area of moisture moving in as we get towards 9 o'clock. So pretty much the kind of the leading edge right on the doorstep of our area. And then as we head into the afternoon, well, look at that. Areas basically from Flathead Lake to the south will see some showers with a slight chance of a shower as you move north towards Kalispell, and then overnight scattered showers with snowfall and then more showery conditions as we move through the day on Sunday. But the heaviest stuff is going to be on Saturday night. So the question is where? Because that is the issue that we are dealing with right now. So we know the areas that will get the heaviest snow will be between 2 and 5 inches. Elsewhere, it'll be about a half inch to maybe 2 inches in grassy areas. Most of the roadways should be warm enough where we won't see roadway accumulation outside of the highest passes. But this is the latest snowfall projection we just had about an hour and a half ago. And that kind of pushes the snow further to the north than that's been doing all day. So places like Missoula and Seeley Lake, you're going to be on the edge of this, which means there's a high variance between whether you may get a little bit more, you may end up getting not that much at all. Kalispell, you've been out of the money here all time, and I don't think that is going to change. Here's what the snow projections were earlier and why the farther south you go, I think the better chance that you have for some snowfall. Now notice if this comes to light, that means different passes will be affected. So I'd say probably the ones you need to watch out for: McDonald Pass, Lost Trail Pass, and Lolo Pass, as far as slushy conditions when we wake up on Sunday morning. So pretty sloppy day, or a pretty sloppy couple of days for your weekend. Say goodbye to the 60s, 40s, and 50s around the region. And here we are. We'll be looking for increasing chance of showers and maybe even snowflakes as early as 8 p.m. tomorrow in the Missoula area. So you want to get out early if you got any outdoor plans, especially out on Flathead Lake, as we'll see a 40% chance of showers as we head into the afternoon. 33 tonight in Missoula, 32 around Kalispell, showers hanging around. For tomorrow, 50 in Missoula, 49 in Kalispell, so upper 40s and low 50s around the region. Now, as we head into Sunday and Monday around Kalispell, expect some showery conditions to continue. That'll keep us in the 40s, but in the 50s as we head to Tuesday and Wednesday. Rain back in the forecast on Thursday. Around Missoula, pretty similar story, but we will be a little bit warmer, all the way up to 55 Wednesday, 56 on Thursday. But those 60-degree temperatures look to be gone for at least the next 7 days. And we just keep getting a couple days where we get some sunshine, and then we get right back into the rain and snow here.
I know, I'm hoping it would last. Who would have ever thought snow here mid-April, but
hey, that's how it goes.
Never say never. All right, thanks, Matt. Well, coming up ahead, a warning tonight for people who use asthma inhalers. Hundreds of thousands are being recalled. Make sure yours isn't one of them.
I'm Greg Gianforte, and